ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Talk Shop Show. Today, as usual, we have a very, very special guest. We have Malcolm Stoffman from the Mortgage Guy, Malcolm the Mortgage Guy. I'm here as well with Erica Aguilar, the Senior VP of Complete CU Services.
Thank you very much. My name is Erica Aguilar. I am delighted to be here with Malcolm Stoffman, the Mortgage Guy.
So the reality is that the bare minimum that you need to purchase a house today in Canada, in Ontario, is 5%. The reality is that you actually need more than that because you need to show closing costs of 1.5%. So realistically, you need 6.5%. Let's say the 5% is on, let's say the average house price, again, just for sort of sake of round numbers, is 500 grand. You have to have saved $200,000 or $25,000 just for your down payment. Plus you've got to show 1.5% closing costs. So your $30,000 or the better part of $30,000 that you would have had to have saved. And like you say, you've got student loans, or potentially you've got student loans, potentially you've got car loans. Car loans are the worst. Oh my goodness, I see car loans all the time. Car loans are killers for people who don't yet own a house. Car loans are the worst. F-150s make me crazy. If you need an F-150, if you need a Ford F-150 for your job, great. If you don't need a Ford F-150 for your job, don't drive a Ford F-150, and that's no disrespect to Ford F-150s.
It even costs more than my BMW.
They're so expensive, and they're so expensive to insure, and they're so expensive to put gas in. And if you buy a new Ford F-150, you're looking at like $700 a month for one of these things, right? Maybe when you're starting your second or third big job, maybe that's the time to treat yourself to a nice toy. It's not when you're just, when your first job is 75 grand, you can't spend $700 a month on your F-150 and think that you're going to be able to buy a house on top of that. The numbers just simply don't work.
Or wait until you're 50, like me.
Or wait until you're 50, right? And then you're a cliche, PJ, because right then you're the guy having the midlife crisis.
Midlife crisis time. I had so many midlife crises. It's beyond. Do you believe that institutions and regulators should look at a new model to finance people? And the reason I say that is because, like I explained earlier, but I'll use my father as an example. When he bought one of his first properties in Quebec City, it was like $23,000. And at that time in the early 70s, he was earning $23,000. So as we're, evolving, like in my time when I bought the property, it was twice my salary. Now we're 3, 4, 5, and sometimes, 20 times your salary. And like we said, you're a young couple. You're almost out of the market before you start.
So I agree that something has to change. I don't know what that is. I don't know that either the financial institutions or the regulators can easily resolve this because like you say, right, you can't just wholesale make a change that cuts people out, that disadvantages people that have been trying to get in. So I don't know what the solution is, but I do believe that as it stands right now, there is a flaw in the system. I'm not sure that the system's entirely broken, but there is definitely a flaw in the system in that, like I say, if you are a young couple and you've done everything right, like you've done what you're supposed to do, you finished your high school, maybe you went to post-secondary, maybe you didn't, right? Post-secondary is not for everybody, and I get that as well. But if you are a young couple, for example, and you have two good, solid working incomes and you work a full-time job and your partner works a full-time job and you've saved and you've got decent credit, arguably you should be able to buy a house, right? Like arguably you should be able to buy a house. And I think that what the regulators have done in terms of like the stress test, I think that initially served a pretty good purpose. And I think that purpose was to try to sort of cool Toronto, Calgary, and Vancouver, right? Like those markets went crazy even 10, 15 years ago. Now the stress test is making it, and it's come down during the pandemic. The stress test rate has actually come down a couple of times during the pandemic. But there's so many people with means in the market right now that are just driving the prices. I don't know if it's necessarily international investors or foreign investors, but there are definitely investors. Like there's no doubt that investors have cash and investors are driving prices. And it's funny that you said renters, because so a perfect example here in Hamilton, a house that sold like a year ago for $379,000 gets renovated into a 2-unit duplex, right? And is now sold, it's now listed at 500 grand and ends up selling for 600 or 650 grand. So in a matter of, 18 to 24 months, what you're seeing is a $379,000 house becomes a $650,000 house. And there's been, a flipper has made money on that as an investor. And now there's a new landlord who owns that property who is now going to rent that, and they're going to buy and hold. And that, but again, it's another form of investor. And really, and the renters now have beautiful houses with marble and beautiful backsplashes and pot lights and everything else. And it's, to me, I don't know that is sustainable, and that is very much what seems to be that I'm seeing that is driving the situation for young people, young families, that is making it virtually impossible for them to buy properties right now.